group will be allowed about 3 to 4 minutes to summarize their discussion and have any contributions from other members of the group, brief contributions, so that we get a picture of what actually went on. Okay, so then without wasting any further time, I'd like to ask for reporting back from Group 1. Sorry, it's okay. Just get my watch. Who's Group 1? I think you should come to the front.
Okay.
Okay, we have to march rapidly because we're behind time.
Yep.
Okay.
So, my name is Per Oskarsson. I'll just try to present some of the points from group number 1. In terms of the first question, the mission statement, what we feel like SIANI should concentrate on is to work, we've tried to make this into one long sentence, I would say, to work towards sustainable soil fertility, innovative waste management systems, or even to take care of human waste and so on, and to continue work on trees. We think trees in landscapes are quite important. Then in terms of red dots, what points got the most red dots? Sustainable soil fertility, to look at methods with local resources, continue collaboration and knowledge sharing on best practices for small-scale farmers, and to engage private social science in SDG development. And then in terms of blue dots, which was the innovative things, isn't it? Look a little bit more on the role of ecological sanitation for soil fertility. It's the same thing. Continue work on trees in agricultural landscape, and to use agroecology as a strategy for food security and sustainability, resource management.
Okay, that sounds very. Did you have a last category? No.
Can't read it. Facilitator's note.
Continue facilitator's notes. Oh, I can't either. Ooh. Okay, well, it's a mystery. Who's the writer? Okay, well then, what was your note?
Which one? The note. Your last facilitator.
The facilitator note was basically that some people in the group mentioned that it could be a bit counterintuitive to go back to the categorization because it puts you back into the silos.
Ah, yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
So, but that was just a critique on the methodology.
Yeah.
We talked about you might want to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something we said when first we split and say we need to look at everything, and then we go back to silos and say we should focus on this.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, it's okay. All right. Okay, is there anyone from the group that needs to urgently add something to that? Okay. Then we thank you very much, Per. And we take group 2. You have to move. There you go.
So group 2 is very gender balanced.
We thought the man should be present as well.
Yes. So to start with the mission statement, it's we come up with increased awareness about soil competition, soil fertility, and importance of nutrition. And then we can continue with the soil aspects.
Yes, the list. I forgot my glasses. The list with the number of red dots. When it came to soil, we thought that soil fertility is a very important issue. And one thing we hope to contribute to, and where SIANI can work, is to build the competence and capacity within this area, within institutions. The other issue we thought is very important is the competition for land. Competition for land when it comes to producing food, feeds and biofuel. This is still a very hot issue in our opinion.
So, red dots for nutrition then. And most dots got dietary change. We must eat in a other manner than we do today, if you look on it in a global level. Create awareness about the issue as a whole, and also biodiversity and nutrition, how it's connected, and it's a really important issue for the global south, we think. So that was the red dots for nutrition.
And then we have the blue dots for soils. One thing we think is partly going back but also looking forward is to again look at collaboration between Swedish actors within this sector, so to say, in the spirit of the PGU, the Program for Global Development, PGD in English, for stronger impact. And there we think SIANI can contribute as a facilitator to that.
And finally, the creative part of the nutrition issue. And a concept came up, biodiversity eating started to grow in interest. And that could be a good way of communicating these things. And again, we have this long-term behavior change in eating and dietary change in habits, eating habits. And finally, we need to look more on forests for food. What can you find in the forest that can contribute to nutrition? That was group number 2.
Okay. You didn't touch SDGs? Or you didn't, you didn't get that far?
Not, yeah.
The SDGs, but they didn't come up as the top priorities
Okay.
when it came to doing it.
Good. All right, there we go. Thank you. Group 2. Okay. And now group 3. Sorry.
Hello, my name is Tobias Robinson. I work with consultancy company Tyrens. And the mission statement for Group 3 was Natural Resources Management for Poverty Alleviation. And I will do the red dots first. In the category of soil, we talked about the conflict between agriculture and urbanization and other land use. And also we talked about in nutrition, we talked about how to mainstream the knowledge of nutritional needs to consumer demand, and also bring up the role of livestock in nutrition and health. For SDGs, we talked about provide overviews of what SDGs are and what do they mean for the SIANI members. And also highlight the potential role of incentives, market challenging regulation to boost smallholders. In general, SIANI, the group thought that SIANI should contribute with clarifications on different terms and concepts, what nutrition is and what SDGs should mean for us, and what sustainable agriculture is. And as for the blue dots, for the soil, we talked about looking into innovative techniques for nutrient recycling, mainly phosphorus, and also at salt-affected soils. How big is the problem and how do we address it? And for nutrition, I talked about how to evaluate development projects on impact on food security rather than production or income only. And how does sustainable nutritious diet look like in a different context? And also food security in conflict situations. And in general, the group felt the need to expose Africa as a land of opportunity rather than a continent of despair and poverty.
Thank you very much. Very good. Okay. This is going really quickly. All right. Group 4. I'm outdoing myself here.
Okay, so our mission statement was that we need to integrate soils and nutrition into the Sustainable Development Goals. Our red points were that SIANI can organize an international thematic workshop on food, nutrition, security, soils, and SDGs.
Invite the whole world.
We thought they were all tightly interconnected and related. We thought that sustainable agriculture in poor countries is an important issue to increase production while at the same time decreasing inputs, and to work on linking poor farmers to markets. Third point is that biodiversity and ecosystem services and resilience valuation or metrics, another important aspect. And the fourth one is that nutrition and soils in relations to farmer organizations. Our blue points were that we need more cross-sector cooperation and integrated planning. There are conflicts between market forces and a lack of equal opportunities, particularly gender issues. So these must be realized as one of SIANI's points of departure in forming its policies. Second point is that we need to bring the idea to media and create more public awareness. One example is to join the Department of Soil Science at SLU for their yearly activities on, because this is the International Year of Soil Science. A third idea is that the seminar on the role of political stability and how it affects nutrition, soil, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And the fourth point we had is that restoration of degraded soils is a key issue, and for the Sustainable Development Goals with regards to food production, and we need more dialogue about the different perceptions of landscapes.
Okay. Did you have a mission, or did?
I said it.
Okay, integrate soils. Yes. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Group 4. 3. Okay. That's good. Now group 5. Everybody's keeping time today. Women keep time. But.
Okay, my name is Josephine Smits. So our mission statement is to highlight the difference between quality and quantity of food from both a nutritional and a broader international agreement perspective. And we would also like SIANI to involve more young people in the network. And our red dots, so first of all, to involve young professionals and students in the network, for example, by having a specific network for young professionals in SIANI. Second point, to explain the difference between focusing on nutrition and focusing on calories. And especially looking into the complexity within countries, that there can be a lot of difference when it comes to malnutrition and undernutrition within countries as well. Thirdly, we want to highlight to discuss how the production of food will be affected when the focus is on quality rather than quantity of food. So what are the implications on that? For the blue dots, we said that we would like to see a focus on Sweden as well, and the kind of opportunities and challenges for agriculture in Sweden, not only developing countries, especially since the SDGs are universal, so it should include Sweden as well. So talk more about opportunities for Sweden. And the second point is gender equality. So to always have a gender perspective on these things. And thirdly, to highlight the role of diversity, and diversity in many different aspects, both in terms of diversity of diets and diversity of agricultural practices and seed diversity, and also highlights different strategies for fostering diversity. Yeah.
Thank you. Very good. Group 5. Yeah. Okay, I'll do a little commentary at the end, a little summing up. Group 6. Although my heartfelt sympathies to those on SIANI Secretariat who have to summarize this discussion. Whew.
So good afternoon, my name is Claudia. I'm a master's student at the Stockholm Resilience Center, and I'm representing here my group, group number 6. So the mission statement that we agreed on is that we would like SIANI to form a platform for discussion regarding the Sustainable Development Goals and ensure that Swedish policymakers and the public remember that food and nutrition security as a top priority. The second point would be to open up for a more integrated view on the topics of soil, nutrition, and sustainable development goals. And lastly, initiate ideas, work, and create with local networking in communities around agriculture in development countries. Regarding the measures that had a higher number of red dots, we agree that it would be that SIANI needs to have a broad approach to the topics like nutrition and soils, making it possible to include also issues like assets, rights to land, and other resources in the analysis and knowledge development work. And regarding the blue dots, that SIANI could try to identify local stewards in communities that would engage local communities to work together and learn from each other, namely share their agricultural practices that were successful and establish the network in development countries so that later they could be autonomous in sharing their knowledge.
Very good, thank you. Good summary. Okay. All right, now, there is a group 7, I believe. Somewhere? 7. Oh, good. All right. Here we go.
I just ask all the members of Group 7 to please stand up.
Okay. The ones that are smart enough to go to another room.
I'm not here by choice, actually.
Neither am I, Lindley, for that matter, so.
And in fact, because I attended to Nature's Call, when I came back, the group had said, you are the one to go and do the presentation. So here you are. My name is Lindley, and I'm from the Department of Urban and Rural Development at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. So we have a group statement, and Heather, thank you very much for these wonderful notes. And it reads like this. Our group felt that workshops and engagements embracing the complexity of food security and nutrition issues and double disease burden, working across sectors and with multiple stakeholders, both on the production side and the individual health side, should be a focus for SIANI. In terms of the list of points with maximum number of red dots, sometimes they fell below 6, but we thought they were nevertheless important. The first one is to broker and brand nutrition in Sweden at government, NGO, and international level. The second is to improve nutrition value. The third is to highlight the double burden of malnutrition, particularly focusing on social and behavioral sciences. The fourth is to engage with global health centers, for example, the one in Umeå on nutrition, and this one in Uppsala, and I think Lotte will be speaking later on. And the fifth is the production side, but also looking at waste issues and post-harvest losses and access to food. And finally, an indicator workshop on sustainable development goals. When it comes to the blue dots, that is the innovative side, we have 4 points we would like to share with you. The first is perhaps holding a workshop or a forum on underutilized local fruits and vegetables of high nutrition value and looking at issues like how to cash in with these crops. The second is what is a nutrition-friendly landscape, looking at scale issues and the contextual issues. The third is poor nutrition is not just a developing country or a low-income country issue, but it is also about high-income countries. And finally, we think what Jamie Oliver has done in the UK is something we would also like to be a part of. So get chefs on board to increase and raise awareness about smart cooking and nutrition. And the facilitator's note, Heather, these are your words. Emphasis was on complexity and multidisciplinarity. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I've heard rumors that there's a group 8. Are they true? Okay. Okay, they have to have some consultations here. After this presentation, you'll be allowed to, if you have spontaneous comments on these. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Maria Larsson. I'm a freelance journalist, and I've written the Swedish summary of the Montpellier soil report, the report on African soils. And because I had written this summary, my group said that maybe then I could also make a summary of what we'd said in the group. Yeah, so our mission statement was to focus on soft elements of complex issues, not only on the biological and physical and chemical things, but also on the soft elements. Like, if to give one example, is why livestock farmers have so many cows. I'm sure that you can give plenty of answers on that question, but yeah, we wanted to raise questions like that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to solve the actual problems if we don't know what lies behind. Then we will list the points with red dots, and that was a point of these soft elements. So, and then it was another one that has got just as many points, as many red dots, 4 red dots. That was nutrition versus climate impact, research on nutrient contents of food. We thought that those two were the most important for SIANI to work with. But we also had one on soils, follow up the Montpellier report, and plus include SIDA work on this issue, and also maybe the KSLA, which is the Swedish, what is it?
Rural Academy of Agriculture.
Yeah, Rural Academy, yeah, right. And then opinion editor policy brief from SIANI members to contribute to all the others, and also to the UN parties dealing with climatic problems, and to focus on new nutrition crops, both those with GMO and those that are more, well, bred without them. Yeah. And yeah, so that was the ones with red dots. Then we also had some with blue dots, the innovatives. And there we have the role of small-scale African female farmers. That not only female farmers, but especially female farmers. And we also want to coordinate open editors on CSA for development finance events, and look at interface between areas of interest and SIANI to focus on this, well, no, I can't, area, I think. Do you think, Matthew? Yeah, this area. FS plus ICT plus nutrition. And we raised the question that livestock are important for developing countries, and that it's a need to have effective grazing for these livestock. And the last question with blue dots is workshops at universities to connect with the youth sector. So that was at least one thing that was common with the number 6 group, was it?
Yeah. Right. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Okay, I have heard a rumor that there is no group 9, so we are now record time. Thank you very much, both for your discussions. Please, facilitators, keep all of those little, slips with the original idea written on them, so that the SIANI team can study them when we have more time to digest them, right, Matthew? And put them into categories. Just as a general observation, I'll say that when I was listening to the presentations, I get 3 messages from well, 4 maybe. There's a tremendous diversity of suggestions, which is wonderful. That's what we need, to have all kinds of things to think about. And like I said in the beginning, if we have time, if you come up with something later that you think is very important, it's just to write to the Secretariat on the website, on email, because we are always open to ideas. The observations I would make are that the suggestions for soil were often a bit more detailed than the other suggestions, or technical, if we could call it. And that's probably because we've been working with soil in SIANI for a number of years. So that is no surprising that people have gone from the general to the more specific. The other observation I would make is that the nutrition suggestions were many and very good. And I think that's because we haven't been doing that much with nutrition, and we do need to. There are plenty of things that we can look at in nutrition in the coming years, and we have some very good suggestions here from people who know. And the third thing I would assume is that not many people really know what the SDGs are, and we need to do a little bit more outreach work on that before people can have real opinions about what needs to be done in those areas. I think many of the comments were on dissemination of those. But I thank you all for your participation and sitting and discipline and coming back early, yanked out of your pleasant lunch. Some of you hadn't even finished eating yet to finish this discussion. And I appreciate that very much, and apologize for our scheduling mistake here. Then I would like to, if there's anyone who has a comment on any of the suggestions presented, a brief comment or a brief observation about the process. Okay. Now, you can always come back and complain later. Then we will go on to a presentation of the expert groups. These are these Pecha Kucha things that I think, who's the first person on the list? Hang on, I think it's Anders. Yeah, Anders Malmer is the first person on the list who did such a brilliant job in the morning that now you're a real Pecha Kucha expert. So we have, this expert group is on the restoration of rural landscapes.
I can change.
Oh, it's the 3-slide one.
Not a real Pecha.
Oh, you're even faster.
Thank you. I'm coming here again, and actually this expert group, most of the people who are most active in this one are not on this continent presently, so I was volunteering to make a presentation, and I got a dispense in Swedish from Madeleine to not make a Pecha Kucha on this one. I have only a few slides on the activity of this one, and it will be very brief. This expert group is, the title is Restoration of Rural Landscapes for Food Security, and it relates to one of the themes in SLU Global, and the main applicant was Gert Nyberg from the Department of Forest Ecology and Management at SLU in Umeå. In the morning it was said this was connected to SLU Global. SLU Global do not have activities, but they are in our 36 departments, and so is this one. Sort of the main responsibility. So I will present it. I have been a little bit into this one also. It deals and is also said to be working with a special initiative and a research and dialogue platform called Land, Livestocks and Livelihoods. And it's about the landscape in West Pokot region in Kenya, where there has been a transformation of a semi-arid landscape depending on pastoralists, where there has been rotating fencing and increasing. It's an area where the VI agroforestry, V-skogen in Sweden, has been working for many years, not anymore. And in some parts of this landscape, there is a tremendous transformation with more trees, with better restored land, better schools, better livelihoods, and so on. And in other parts where there has been less support for this transition, it's very different. So there is research going on, and upcoming research on this. There's been lots of students starting to make pilot studies about this and this comparison. And the expert group comes in here on making dialogue and discussion also broader than the research part here in this aspect. And what mainly happened during last year was discussion of this in just before summer, and during the autumn there was a workshop in West Pokot, in Kitale town, where the researchers and some of the NGOs met with government people, village elders, village chiefs, extension people in the area to discuss these matters. There were also, torgmöten, square meetings in some of the places where the only picture were on me, I'm sorry, but there was about 20 students who also come back where they have made interviews and presented their results in sort of a dialogue here. Continued plans for this in this year includes also cooperation with urban-rural Gothenburg, which is Gothenburg town, having activities together with the Swedish Agroforestry Network. And there is discussion in this expert group if it's possible to engage our new Swedes from the graded rural regions in Africa mainly for Swedish restoration dialogues and initiatives. This is still on the drawing board, and we don't know how this will go about, but we have dialogue about doing this, and we'll see what comes up.
Very good. That's Pecha Kucha minus 2 minutes. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions about this this expert group? Anyone have any questions or observations? Okay, you're free. Okay, and then we have an expert group on agricultural transformation in low-income countries under environmental change. And I think Karin Höök is going to be reporting on that one.
Dispense. I thought it was 20 seconds in average for the presentations. So, but we do it this way. My name is, microphone, okay, and I can do it myself manually, yeah. My name is Karin Höök, and I work at the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation. And I coordinate an expert group called Agriculture at the Crossroads, Agriculture Transformation in Low-Income Countries Under the Challenges of Global Environmental Change. The goal for this expert group is to reach a deeper knowledge among different stakeholders in Sweden about the need for a transition of the agriculture sector to an approach based on ecosystem services, biodiversity, nutrient circulation, local knowledge, and cross-learning. The group believes very much in cross-learning and cross-sector interactions. That's a base for the work. The goal is also deepened policy dialogue in the Swedish context that could also have implications on the global level. Keywords for the group's work is agroecology, food security, small-scale farmers, planetary boundaries, sustainable development, pro-poor rural development, cross-learning, agriculture transformation. The output from the expert group, it will be a workshop. We have already done that workshop together with SLU Global. We have also put in some extra resources for that one to have guests from the south. We are working on the policy brief for the workshop, and we are also working on a policy brief about agroecology. And these policy briefs, they will be presented in a seminar that is planned to March 10, so you can all make a note in your agenda, March 10. We also have a report ongoing, and it's about resilience assessment about agriculture systems in Brazil. It's a pilot project. We want to connect these quite theoretical planetary boundaries, theories, with work on the ground. So we have one person working in Brazil with that. And we will end up with a joint project application. So, more dialogue. Intensified policy dialogue, both in Sweden and globally. And we also want to discuss more the concept of agroecology. And the group believes that we will have a policy level impact, both in the short and long run, and not least because the group's very good networks and contacts on different levels. So the group members, it's myself, it's Louise Karlberg from SEI, Jakob Lundberg, WeEffect, Kristina Mastroianni, NIRAS, Fredrik Moberg, Alba Eco and Resilience Center, Gunnar Rundgren from Grueling Consultancy, and Lennart Salomonsson from SLU. As I said, it's much depending on the group's networks and personal contacts. So just to show you a little bit about what kind of contacts these group members have on different levels. I will go through these very quickly. But of course, you know, Resilience Center, they have high-level contacts with the UN system. SEI has also a very broad network in different aspects. SSNC, my organization, we have very broad networks within the whole NGO sector around the globe, but also on high level like African Union. WeEffect, they know everything about the cooperative movement around the globe and have very good contacts in that aspect. Grueling do a lot of work for the UN agencies and also African Union. And NIRAS have contacts with all the consultants that are implementing policy development projects and so on. So altogether, we are a very broad group, different stakeholders that collaborate, and cross-learning is key. So we had this workshop together with SLU Global. We're working on this policy brief, how to feed 9 billion within the planet's boundaries. We will update this one now when we have the new planetary boundaries article. So it's a bit of work to do that, but we are on our way. Scaling up from the workshop, it will be also a policy brief that is on its way. And this seminar, March 10. Make a note in your notebook. And it's about how to feed 9 billion within the planet's boundaries, agroecology for food security and nutrition. And it will come a report also about resilience assessment, about work on the ground, farmers' work on the ground. That's it. How many minutes?
Great. I wasn't counting. I was so interested. Okay. And are there any questions about this group or their work or any kind of thing? Okay, we're making real progress here. Thank you. That was obviously very explanatory. And I think we'll all be there on March 10th. Okay, now we have another expert group on something called co-intentional learning. Do we have, David Hallberg here.
This is a picture.
Yeah, now we're down to the, this is the nitty-gritty, the 20-second thing. It's not my decision. Go ahead. It's okay. I can stand. 20 seconds.
We go automatically.
Oh.
Yes. That's okay.
Oh, let's start in 5 minutes.
Okay. You have 7 minutes, actually.
Okay, good. I'm good to go. Yes, co-intentional learning. By this we refer to as when you learn mutually and teach each other. It's a concept from a Brazilian teacher and pedagogue. And next slides you will see, okay, I have structured this presentation as a behavioral archaeological way. And the group consists of people from academia, NGOs, people from all walks of life. So it's a pretty broad group in terms of participations. And we structure our work as follows: interviews, field studies, and we will end up in a film. So we also document the work in video and audio. And we highlight gender issues, human rights issues, as to have more like a clear focus. Oh, I'm too fast.
Doesn't happen very often.
No. Miscalculating. Okay. So having all this will lead us to kitchen gardening or community gardening, as we call it. And you can see from a picture what we mean by this. This is actually, it's close to urban agriculture when you use the least available resources to cultivate food and so forth. And this will end up in a documentary drama, as I said, and also scientific reports and papers, like this traditional stuff. No one reads, but we have to do it. And primary target group for the film, but also for this project, is families, school children, and younger adults. So we interview them, and they collaborate with us, giving their perspective on the matters. And we concentrate our efforts to 3 contexts. You can call it a comparative approach or comparative education in Sweden, Venezuela, Kenya. Mostly in urban environments, but also in rural environments. And here you can see some of in-progress pictures. This is from a kitchen garden in outside Nairobi, outside Kibera, and how they tend to use the least available space to cultivate something. And you have many issues here. One challenge is the issue of water, of course, and also available space. We discussed this in our group. Everyone claims this is my land and this is my land. So it's pretty difficult to find available space to cultivate. And this is another picture from a rural area in Venezuela, and how they cultivate. They use their garden, their own garden, to cultivate. They have this is auntie demonstrating, and we have this in audio as well, but I couldn't show it here. Explaining how she cultivates and why and how we go about it, and everything. And this is another picture from Venezuela also. This is actually a group, consists of students who learn how to cultivate and why cultivate and so forth. So this is more concerned with community gardening, not only for, okay, it's 20 seconds. And this is from Sweden, this more traditional way of using, you garden if you have a standalone house in Sweden, for instance. And this is from my students, actually, at Convux. And this is also from outside Gothenburg, my students who interviewed some people from this area and took some notes and interviews and so forth. It was just more to show you different approach to community gardening. And this is another picture. This is actually a fabric, and this is completely empty. So one of our collaborators, Niklas, he told the Lord that couldn't we have this fabric for 3 years for free to cultivate something, just an experiment. So he agreed upon that. And next step, panel discussion, trailer, teaser for the docudrama, writing a chronicle, and more field studies. That's basically it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is one of the few times that SIANI is actually a film producer. Okay. We're supporting the docudrama. I think it would be very interesting results. Are there any questions about the Mats?
The countries, Kenya and Venezuela.
Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden.
It's organized for, okay, sorry. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. It's organized from my doctoral research. I did from Stockholm University, the Department of Computer and System Sciences. And it was kind of comparative education research. I focused on 4 countries. And earlier on, I have also conducted research in Latin America in different countries, Brazil, Venezuela, Caribbean, and so forth. So we gathered some of my former college in these countries to form this group and to collaborate. So it's pretty much that.
Seems rather cost effective. He already had them established. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Right. And now I think the next presentation will be, which is our last presentation on the expert groups, will be on food security and energy access. Caroline O'Chang.
Is it there? Okay.
It's going to go automatically.
So our expert group was on linkages and synergies between energy access and food security, focusing at household level in sub-Saharan Africa. So not to be confused with the nexus energy, food, agriculture, that's more national or regional. And our goal was to bring to public attention the unexplored links between these 2 issues, looking from production level to processing and to food utilization, and identify areas for research and policy and any implementation gaps. So we had a diverse membership, experts in energy like myself, and also those working in agriculture in Sweden, Africa, and the next phase we would like to involve some more global partners for dissemination. So we had 4 key activities to consolidate existing information on these synergies and links, which are very scattered, and then bring them to public attention, but also facilitate on the ground knowledge exchange and capacity building. For instance, how can farmers integrate food production with energy? And the main motivation is these red parts on the map showing sub-Saharan Africa as one of the regions where more than 75% of the population use biomass for cooking, and it's also where you find high food security. So there are two issues that need to be tackled. And when you look at documented impacts of energy access, you'll see issues such as health or deforestation at local level or climate change at global level, but rarely do you see food security featuring as one of the areas impacted on. Yet food security is defined that as when all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. You really cannot achieve this when you have no energy for cooking that food. So, for instance, without energy for storage, you have food waste and food poisoning. Food can't be refrigerated. Women spend long times walking to posho mills where there are electricity to grind their grains. And cooking is one of the main health risks currently, as shown in the global burden of disease. So one activity which we've completed was to do a review, and for which we partnered with ICRAF, C4, and African Forest Forum to try and look at what are the documented links between energy access and food security. And we hypothesized that when people lack fuel, for instance, they may change the number of meals they eat or food they cook, and or their resources may be diverted from purchase of food to purchase of fuel, or they may switch to lower grade fuels like dung for cooking, which then makes them unavailable for agriculture. So we did a systematic review looking at any documents that addressed the two issues jointly, and we found about 170 articles, of which we selected 127 for review, but only 27% of this were relevant, looking at those two issues. In fact, food security once rarely touched on the issue of energy at all. So the energy ones, at least a few mentioned food security. So we find very few studies, and based on that, our results are not conclusive. But many show that people adjust livelihoods to cope with fuel wood scarcity. For instance, more family members will have to go collecting fuel, including young children, or people may change to cooking foods that cook fast and leaving out grains like beans. So our conclusion is that there really needs to be more data, and that's something FAO pointed out a while back and has not been addressed yet. It's not just an academic question, but also an important policy question. We need evidence to present to policymakers to take action. So next step, we are publishing the findings, and then we are going to have workshops now and raise a debate about these issues. And we have one planned for Kenya sometime in March. Thank you.
Wow. Very good. All right, are there any questions for Caroline on?
First, a small comment on, I remember the Matthew's presentation. He said, like, it was written there that there is no such thing as expert, but you do have an expert group. And my question was, you had a table where it was, mostly it was fuel consumption, like 70% or something, and it was 40% of biomass. And what does it include?
Which
because it was quite, in this one, yeah.
This one?
Yeah, this 40. Was it in percent or was it other biomass?
Sort of how we categorize the studies. Oh, sorry. It just shows the kind of studies and the issues we found them to be addressing based on the selection criteria that we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this 40 is not 40%. Other biomass.
Number of articles.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So that talked about like use of agricultural residues and so on for cooking or manure.
Yeah.
As cooking fuel.
Understanding.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adam John from University Putra, Malaysia. Caroline, you're probably aware of it, but it's just interesting to comment on the fact that there's a relatively new journal, an open access journal, called Energy and Food Security. So I think that's quite promising. I think it's only 1 or 2 years. It's been going for 1 or 2 years now. It's a Wiley journal, and it's open access, so that's quite promising.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were considering publishing first a discussion brief, but then later getting a journal article out of it.
And including in the literature review as well. Probably there's some interesting findings you can find there.
Okay.
Now you see why we have a network.
And so, sorry, I didn't mention that we've also done reviews looking at opportunities for joint energy and food production. So focusing on Malawi, so that will be is a policy paper that's upcoming as well, and of utilization also of agricultural residues. Yeah, for food production.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to the next one. Thank you very much.